Nighttime! Daytime! Nighttime! Daytime!
Lighting, color, and story have a huge impact on a game, and can be the difference between success and failure in engaging a player while teaching them how to play, and this gets messed up all the time. Behold, Army Bootcamp 475,283. Valve put a painstaking amount of detail into the beginning of Portal, and I'm going to show you all of it, and then I'll trick a speedrunner by using these same powers for evil. Hello and welcome to Game Design Elements. We're going to look at Portal 2 and see how story, lighting, and color come together to give an incredibly natural tutorial, and then I'll mess up some expert players by making it absolutely horrible.
You are a horrible person. That's what it says. A horrible person. We weren't even testing for that.
The goal in Portal is to solve a series of physics puzzles by opening a hole that connects different points in the level, and then just don't get shot, crushed, drowned, impaled, or dropped into oblivion. Right off the bat, Portal shows us how much you can say with so little.
Good morning. You have been in suspension for 50 days. In compliance with state and federal regulations, all testing candidates in the Aperture Science Extended Relaxation Center must be revived periodically for a mandatory physical and mental wellness exercise.
And that one line says so much. You're in a building owned by an organization called Aperture, and you're one of many people in an extended-length human experiment of some kind. Aperture is putting minimum effort into your welfare, and it took a federal law to make them even do that. Your motivations immediately align with your characters because you want to move around and you want to look at your surroundings. This emotional alignment is crucial to keeping you in the game and playing through the tougher parts. Valve is working incredibly hard to emotionally connect with you, and that's because Portal is a puzzle game. There's going to be frustrating parts, and they want you to stick with it. When this is missing, you lose interest in the story the game has to share, and side achievements are more interesting than completing level 2. From the very first frame, all of our attention is diverted to the right. The wall gets progressively lighter, and if we look to the left, there's this shadow on the wall that draws our attention back to the right side of the room. This is odd. Valve is drawing all your attention to the back of the room, and your very first task takes you away from the only exit, and even establishes just a bit of familiarity with this area.
This is art. You will hear a buzzer. When you hear the buzzer, stare at the art.
Damn, that is a pretty good painting. Is that Bob Ross? This is weird. Most of my adventures involve leaving my hotel room. Unless... This area of the room is about to be very important, and they do not want your attention on the doorway. Portal is teaching that exploration, awareness, and paying attention to details are all very key, and this is how a game teaches you about itself. Introduce, reinforce, reward. Wait. Let's go for the alliteration here. Reveal, reinforce, and reward. After all, alliterations are always awesome. Check out how well this works. These players are paying attention to this side of the room. One player even anticipates the next part and goes back to looking at this side. This level starts with you trapped in a room with only one obvious exit, and the back of the room is more interesting than the only way out. All the lighting tricks we saw before Aperture forgot to reset the alarm clock have been dialed up. The TV is casting a familiar glow and is the only source of movement in the room. None of these cues are artificial or feel out of place, and nothing has broken our connection to the story. After letting Wheatley in, his movement lures us away from the door again. Warm lighting and the narrowest hallway in the game make this entryway uncomfortable and help drive us back towards the core of the room. These moments are incredibly story-rich. Wheatley is in charge of all the humans, and Aperture's blasé mindset extends to their management. He has so little experience with humans that extreme bedhead gives him a panic attack. Something's gone wrong at Aperture, and the company can't even be bothered to make sure everyone's alive. The stasis has kept you going for a very long time, and that likely means it's coloring books for Christmas. A new mechanic then gets revealed by Wheatley.
Try to hold on to that feeling, because that is the proper reaction to being told that you've got brain damage. Do you understand what I'm saying at all? Does any of this make any sense? Just tell me, just say yes.
This up and down motion could be considered a nod, but Wheatley immediately corrects that.
Okay, what you're doing there is jumping. You just jumped.
Portal's turned a boring tutorial into a great story moment, and the elegance here is really rare. So many tutorials have some incredibly contrived introduction, making the whole experience feel as forced as pretending to have fun at a company party. Portal isn't just showing us a touching moment and then telling us how we should feel. They're making us feel the same way the character does. Chell has to suffer mandatory fitness, and now everything is complete chaos. It's overstimulating, confusing, and we're being bombarded, but that's how our character would feel too. Wheatley is showing why he'll never work for Uber, and the container starts to come apart. Now we're seeing the reason this back wall has been emphasized so much, but the game isn't rubbing our nose in it. The talking soccer ball hits us with a casual roast.
Now, I'll be honest, you are probably in no fit state to run this particular type of cognitive gauntlet. But, at least you're a good jumper.
That's really morale boosting. Thank you, Wheatley. For the first time, we see a portal. It's in this door-looking thing on the wall, signaling we'll be able to walk through the hole. Earlier, Wheelie mentioned a gun that makes these holes, so this is our first real sample of gameplay. The entry and exit are framed, so we get to see this whole process, and we get to watch our transit through the portal. Everything about this starting sequence has been teaching us controls, giving us a clear objective, telling a fairly deep story, and giving us a small sample of gameplay. Portal has told us all about itself in just over 5 minutes, and the whole time we're actually in control and playing the game. We're dealing with a mechanic that's a pretty unique concept, especially when you start using them for making long jumps and doing a bit of troll physics, and I haven't had much success explaining it to others. It's pretty abstract, and the game isn't just shooting at the bad thing until it goes away. Introducing concepts the way Portal does is very by the book, but it's not something that just happens, and some games completely gloss over really important mechanics, like how you can distract guards in Hitman by dropping weapons and they'll go put them away. One of our first puzzle mechanics is revealed, weighing down a button. All of the components we need are framed to give a distinct clue, and first-time players can quickly figure out how to solve this puzzle. When the door opens, the announcer reinforces what you just figured out.
Cube and button-based testing remains an important tool for science, even in a dire emergency.
Now comes our first substantial challenge. Even though the room is really busy, the lighting is drawing attention to the important elements. The indicator for the door is very brightly lit, and the floor switch that opens the door is lit almost as well. When something is well lit on a level like this, it might as well be a bug lamp for my moth-like gamer brain. I'm going to check it out. As you start to investigate, Portal rudely interrupts and draws your attention to that particular button. There's 3 identical buttons. Why is this one emphasized? Why not highlight all of them like other games do when they introduce you to a new mechanic? Well, because this one is the first step in correctly solving the puzzle, and they want to reward and reinforce using buttons. Mechanics are being revealed and rewarded, which is usually what happens in other games, but the critical piece to really remembering them is reinforcement. Here's a perfect example of missing reinforcement. A device to hack keypads gets revealed, and you're rewarded by getting through the door. Then we come up on another door that has a keypad, and guess what we do here? We hack it with our keypad? No, we go find the code instead of hacking it with the thing we just got.
But why? Why would you do that? Why would you do any of that?
But this mistake doesn't happen in Portal. This puzzle is basically the same as the ones we just did, but only using portals to solve the problem. The framing and positioning of these portals is no accident either. The side buttons show you that there is a portal behind you, and the one next to the exit points towards the cube you need to solve the problem. This chance to immediately use the skills you've just learned is so important in helping you remember them later, and it's so easy for games to gloss over this. It's time to mess it up and see what happens. This first chamber with all this careful lighting and framing, it's gotta go. It's way too elegant and well thought out. It's time to use all these wonderful design principles for evil.
SpongeBob, you will be mine.
But first, a couple ground rules. I'm not trying to make the puzzle impossible. That's easy and not the point. The idea is to take the very first level of the game, make a couple tweaks to it till it works for the player testing chambers, and then make it total crap with just changes to layout and lighting. My puzzle isn't about to pull a complete bamboozle. The idea is just to show how an experienced player can be misled. Okay, now it's evil time. Button Room and Button plus Portal Room are the two I'm going to recreate. The steps to solve it are the same, and I'm not going to add any weird stumbling blocks. I even made sure that the relative orientation of the two levels was the same. Since we're recreating the very first puzzle, players should blaze right through it.
The solution is pretty obvious, just grab the cube and put it there, and the rest is just like extra steps. So that's why this is not like really a puzzle.
First off, I need to get the player to let their guard down. This is a user-created level, so I need them to stop thinking about the way they solve those and start solving these instinctually, and that's what the first room is all about. All the lighting is bright and even in here because I don't want players to think about how lighting will be important, but I've still managed to arrange everything in the exact wrong order. Glass helps to make the exit as lightly colored as possible, and it's right in a player's focal point when they come into the room. We're not going to use any concepts like convenient or intuitive design, so I've put the cube dispenser behind the player so it drops while they're not looking at it. Rather than framing the button with an opening door, I'm going to tuck it in the corner as hidden as possible. This room is about establishing trust with the players, but I can still condition them to walk on the lighter colored floors. In order for any of this to work, I need the players to trust me because there is no betrayal without trust. Oof, that got accidentally deep. And now it's time to put all of this to work. Just like the main level, I have a hint at the start, but it's getting way more importance than it should. Using glass floors here instead of the dark no portal flooring lets me attract those gamer moth brains, but I can still limit portals to the same places as the original. Quick game mechanic explanation. There's these panels that are used to toggle between no portal and yes portal, and this was as close as I could get to the portal buttons with the level editor. Look at all the attention I've drawn away from the actual level. This area is brightly lit, the floor is intricate, and everything is light colored. I've even put the observation room overlooking this section and away from the main level to give a social cue that this spot is important. Up in the right corner, I've even added a few more faces because I want to pull a player's attention as far in the wrong direction as I can. Initially, I had created this looping animation to show players you need to press a button to flip the wall. The idea was to use the movement and sound to further distract the player.
Want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
And not annoy them. It's all behind a solid pane of glass, and that floor switch is connected to that panel. This room is clearly not useful. Nothing about this room is helpful in reaching the exit, and the player should dismiss it immediately. So with that, let's see how long I can distract these players' little lizard brains with the shiny thing.
It's so pretty.
Top center, we have an average player going through Portal 2 on their first playthrough. And on the bottom we have our two test subjects. Bottom left is a fairly experienced player going through the messed up tutorial. Bottom right, a speedrunner. The main storyline separates the stage with a loading screen, so I've stitched those clips together here. Whoa, that was clutch. The speedrunner immediately spotted the cube dropper, but the experienced player fell for the bait and stepped on the button. As soon as the players get to the main room, the distraction goes to work right away, and this is the only time the speedrunner stops moving the entire run. I framed the distraction room to be the focal point from the door button, and the experienced player takes the bait here, too. Both of these testers use the floor in front of the button instead of the portal wall I made, but this actually makes sense. In the main level, the room shakes and there's this noise from behind you as the portal opens, but I haven't given these guys any cues about the portal wall. I'm quite proud of how good of a job I did making such a bad level. Believe it or not, this lighting and layout took quite a bit of thought. My whole point behind this experiment was to use level design to sabotage a player's success as much as possible, and to really emphasize how much lighting and layout can change a player's experience doing the exact same thing. As a gamer, you can use this lighting to your advantage too. When a game uses lighting to emphasize the important pieces, they'll usually do so right away. Some games don't use lighting like this, but paying attention to how lights are arranged can give you a new perspective on a level and what the designers were intending. Everyone's finishing up, so let's see how they did. Our speedrunner comes in first place at 1 minute 3 seconds. The novice isn't too far behind them at 1 minute 10 seconds. Trailing by 12 seconds, our experienced player comes in last place. When I first put this level together, I thought the novice had beaten the speedrunner, but he's just too darn fast. However, for a novice to be moving at a pace between a speedrunner and an experienced player, they're going to need a pretty big handicap. Just by changing the lighting and layout, I was able to give them that advantage. By making the level clunky and counterintuitive, it slowed down our testers, and that made all the difference. Thank you for watching, and if you've enjoyed this video, please be sure to subscribe, like, and comment below on what types of videos you'd like to see next. You can help make new videos by subscribing on Patreon. Subscriptions are only $1 a month, and it helps me afford all the pieces I need to share. Thank you, and I hope you have a great day.